Hello, Bible readers. It is Monday, March 15th. We are finishing the book of prophecy that is Amos and what is called Second Corinthians, although we know it's not just one letter, but fragments of many put into one book. But it's, anyway, Second Corinthians, chapter 4 through chapter 5, verse 21. I'm going to start with Amos. Sometimes when I sit down to do my studying here, my Bible reading, sometimes I'm just pulled in more than others. I'm sure that's true for you too. I found Amos just pulls me in, and I was reminded how powerful the books that are of the prophets, they really speak to our own time. And so in chapter 5, we've got the death of Israel. Remember, Amos is not about reform. For Amos, this is about an ending. So chapter 5 begins with a funeral song. Just those first couple lines, that's really a song. A remnant of only 10% will survive. It's very matter of fact. And then in verse 24, we hear one of the most famous parts of Amos: let justice roll down like waters and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream. Chapter 6, we've got Amos saying that life is usual with disaster near. That's kind of what's happening in Amos's estimation. We've got everybody living like life as usual, but disaster is looming. My commentary described this as complacent extravagance, complacency, unfounded, almost cocky in our blindness to the injustice that's happening all around us. My commentary also called it wishful thinking, dominating society's, agreed upon evaluation of where they are with things. And I think a lot of people would resonate with that kind of, are we just wishfully thinking our way through different issues in our own society right now? Chapter 7, we've got 3 visions and a confrontation. And this confrontation comes with Amazia, or Amazia. And that is the person, it's a priest, and it's pretty clear that Amazia is trying to be Jeroboam's preferred counselor, right? Amos, of course, won't have any of it. Like, you don't get to just say what you want to be true. God gets to choose who to work with and through. So God gets to choose who to work through, who to work with, and God has chosen me, Amos, and so Amazia, go away. I'm paraphrasing. Chapter 8, the end has come. Why? The first reason Amos gives is trampling the needy, and much more, of course. And then in chapter 9, Amos speaks to how there is no escape because God is Lord of all. And then at the end of the prophecy, a promise for Judah to remain faithful to the Davidic covenant. God promises to provide a land of plenty, to be faithful to that covenant. And so after all this doomsday stuff, clearly saying injustice is reigning, wishful thinking is reigning, everyone is ignoring what's happening to the poor. After all that, God says, but I will keep my promise. And this land will include plenty again. This is how our God works. In 2 Corinthians, we've got Paul's ministry talking about being sustained through affliction and mortality. He talks about treasure in clay jars. This might be my favorite Pauline analogy. It lifts up the gospel and the ministry of Jesus as a treasure, but it admits our unworthiness to hold it without threat of failure, knowing that every clay pot breaks. And so to say treasure in clay jars, that's how I feel oftentimes. I'm sure that's how you feel too, sinners as we know we are. Every one of us sins. And yet, just like we heard in Amos, God chooses who to work with, and God chooses who to work through. And so clay jars though we may be, God chose us, claimed us. And then in chapter 5, we get reconciliation. Paul talks about reconciliation is at the heart of life's business. God reconciled God's self to us, and now we get to and are called to reconcile wherever and whenever we can with others. It's a beautiful statement on reconciliation being what we're for. I am one with my God. My God is with us, all of us, at all times and in all places.